Hello, my name is Lewis Martins. I'm a photographer and a filmmaker, also known as Poet 102. And today I'm here with Tom Delay Beats to talk about a music video that I produced earlier this year. The video was called The Living Dead, and it was the first one I produced, and we're going to just discuss the content of the video, how it came about, the tone, the way I produced it, just a bit of an insight into the making of the video, really. So, as I said, Tom Delay is here to ask some questions of me, and hopefully it will give you a bit of an insight into the video from the perspective of a filmmaker and the musician who provided the soundtrack. So, over to you, Tom.
Okay. So once we agreed to work on the Living Dead video, what were your initial thoughts about the concept?
In terms of the concept, it was, the theme you gave me was kind of fairly general, but you did give me pointers towards surveillance and paranoia and control and how governments or states or the people that run countries intrude on the people who live there. And I thought that was an interesting concept, so I listened, that track and that concept and the way I think about all those things, I felt that those together would be the most interesting combination. So that's why The Living Dead was the track that we ended up producing, really.
So what was the first stage of making the video?
First things I did, well, I just listened to the music, and then as I was listening, I would hear things and visualize images. I wasn't really sure what I was going to film, who was going to be in it, what the story was going to be. I wanted something with surveillance, I wanted something with paranoia, because obviously that was what Tom wanted. But I hadn't really pinned it down. And then, I guess through listening to it, the actual first piece of footage that came about for The Living Dead that's actually in the final piece was the part with the teeth. Like in the video, there's a section where the character is tearing up a newspaper, throwing it around like a complete lunatic. And after that, you have this very tight shot of the character's mouth doing this, like a really sort of over-the-top cheesy grin, but it's got a real sinister atmosphere to it. It was just like a pure gold moment. And ironically, that footage actually predated Tom and I meeting. That was for something completely different. I was shooting some tests for a horror film that I was intending to make in Asia in sort of a couple of years' time. So I was just doing some tests, putting some intros and outros together, just to try to get a bit of a kind of a construct of the project. And I don't know, I was listening to the music on my PC, the Living Dead track, and I stumbled across that footage, looked at it, and it triggered it. That opened the door to this kind of weird and wonderful world that you see in the final film. So that's really the kind of origins of it. The first stage I did was just listen to this track to death. I've probably listened to it more than Tom, to be honest. But yeah, that was the first process of trying to visualize a story to go with the song, something that would relate to each other and it wouldn't jar. It would feel like it's as connected to each other as it should be.
Cool. So it sounds like you had quite a free-flowing approach. So as the video took shape, did it start to have a life of its own, or were you in control of it at all times?
For me, it was very much a case of, obviously I started visualizing it, and then I started filming stuff, because I thought, okay, we started with the teeth shot, that was going to be the first shot of the video, but then it didn't really work, and then I was thinking, okay, who is this character and why are they grinning? And then it kind of almost formed roots and just spread outwards. And I came up with the idea about the whole thing being set in a house. I wanted it to feel very claustrophobic and very confined, so it was a very one-dimensional environment. It was just one person, and this was their space, and you know they were very protective of it. And so the house, in a way, was a kind of a metaphor for the person's consciousness. It was their brain. You know, it was like, this is my space. Please stay away. You know, because there's nothing worse than people intruding in your own space, because then you feel violated, and it kind of can get a reaction sometimes. So in terms of how the video unfolded, yeah, I didn't shoot it front to back. You know, I used the teeth section, and then I sort of thought, okay, why would they be doing that? And then I thought it would just be interesting to shoot a silhouette ripping up newspaper and going nuts. And then I thought, okay, why are they ripping it up? And some of it I was kind of doing backwards, and then I started at the beginning and worked on that section, and then various characters I thought about using, and it's all trial and error, you know. But it was very freeform, and it did kind of have a life of its own.
Okay. And can you talk a little bit about the different characters in the film and give a little bit of an explanation about each of them?
There are three main characters in the movie, really. The first character is obviously the person living in the house, the kind of silhouette, hooded figure who you never really know who they are, never really understand them. That character was obviously, the video is essentially focused on them and their struggle to kind of deal with outside forces invading into their space. So that's the main character. For me personally, I needed other characters, so I'm not an actor, but I played a very, very small part in this film as the kind of the man, which represents a government or a state, some kind of overall power that is trying to control someone else. It was like a trigger point. It was something that I added into the project to make it real, you know, because at the start you have this person in the house gets a phone call from the man and then throws the phone in the toilet, and then you think, and then you don't really see the man, and then all of a sudden the man's there knocking on the window, and really it becomes a real intrusion. And the other, I guess there's three characters, like I said, and the third character is the doll, which was just a bit of a left field idea, really. I'd had this thing for ages, God knows why. It just looks really, really odd, and it has a kind of a sinister look. The dolls generally creep me out a little bit. And I had the idea that there would be a section in the film where because the man has kind of lost a bit of control through the phone call, he's trying to obtain that control back. So I had the idea that he would leave something for the character, so a present. So the character who lives in that house is thinking, oh wow, I've got this really nice gift, brilliant. But then it was obviously going to turn into something very, not brilliant at all for that character. So that's why the doll came in, and I think the doll steals the whole video, to be honest. Like the section where it comes alive is just, that's one of my favourite little segments. I just think it was tricky to film that and to make it believable, to the amount it needs to be. That was tough because, if you could see that actually being filmed, it was the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. But it turned out fantastically. But they're the three main characters. I guess the main character, the silhouetted, hooded figure, kind of has a split personality, in a way, and the character changes throughout the film. And then you obviously have various other things like the mask that we'll talk about later, which almost is like a turning point for the character, where they weren't, they were a sandwich short of a picnic at the start of the film, but by the end they're completely, off with the fairies in La La Land. But I'm sure we'll come on to that in the next few questions.
Okay, cool. Very cool. So do you have a favorite scene or some kind of meaning in there? I know a lot of directors like to do that, so I'm wondering if you had included anything kind of similar.
In terms of hidden meanings, I mean, there's a lot of visual imagery that has a subtext. You know, there's a lot of metaphors. Like I said earlier, like the house is a metaphor for someone's kind of own mind, their own kind of space. And the doll is like a metaphor for CCTV, I guess, because it's the man giving the character something, and they think they're getting something good, but it's adding another layer of intrusion into their life. So it was kind of there's not really any hidden meanings, I suppose. It isn't literal. It's quite avant-garde and shot in a very unusual way. But in terms of the favourite scene, it's always difficult to choose. But I mean, there's several moments that I really like. I love all the close-ups of the mouth. I think they're so expressive, and they just get you so close to the character, and it really just kind of throws you off a bit. Obviously, the scenes with the doll turned out fantastic, and creepy shit they are. I love the kind of the shot at the end with the mirror, with the character sort of in the mirror. The character is moving to look at you, and the other side of the image, the character's not moving. So it's like it's showing like this, the duality, the split personality of that character. But there's lots of scenes. I like the one at the window, not because I'm in it. You know, I just kind of like the layer of the glass in between myself and the camera, because I'm also a photographer and I do portraits, and that's something I try to do in my portrait photography. I try to create layers between the camera and the subject. Obviously I still want to see the subject, but it creates some kind of I don't know, it just has a layer, an atmosphere that you have to kind of break through to actually get to the person, so it means the images are more deep.
Okay, I see. And can you talk a little bit about the use of the mask and the doll throughout the movie? Were you just trying to add a creepy element, or was that used as a metaphor for something else?
Well, the mask and the doll, I guess, they're two of the most intriguing elements visually. Because the mask, for me, was, I wanted to use something visual that would show the character's change from, you know, being a bit edgy and a bit kind of self-conscious and paranoid and a little bit scatty, from that to being almost cold and calculated and focused and kind of really fucked off, and they've gone over the edge, and they've kind of, the rage is almost stopped, and then now they're just kind of in that cool, tranquil place where they're actually kind of clinically deciding what they're going to do and to whom. And the mask, it just gives a real barrier, I guess. It's there as a way of shielding the audience from the character. So the character is already kind of shut in, you know, in their house and just locked away from society. But the mask is just like the final piece. That's just the last brick in the wall that says, you know, I'm no longer engaged with anyone or anything outside of my own skull. I'm just here, and I'm going to do whatever I want to do. And then they, you know, start making bombs in their kitchen, as you do. So that's the mask. That's why I use the mask, and I think it adds an eerie kind of ghostly element to it. And the doll, obviously, as I just spoke about earlier, it's just a fucking weird little piece of, you know, genius. It worked perfectly, and it's, you know, they're both very, they fit together, and they fit with the music, they fit with the story, the whole kind of concept. I guess that's why I chose them. And yeah, I agree, they are very creepy. But I don't think the doll does come alive at night, at least I haven't seen it. But yeah.
All right, just a few more questions. So once the film was in the can, what was the general reaction? How did it go down?
So I shared it with Tom, and I shared it with some friends, and, you know, I got interesting feedback. But, you know, friends have a biased nature, so they're always going to give you a little bit of a kind of sugar-coated view. Tom was happy, I was happy, and we felt that it was a good piece of work, and it was going to help, you know, me get coverage, and it was going to help his album have a bit of an extra boost. So in March, I think Tom did a lot of publicity for it. He really kind of pushed it his side of the pond, and yeah, the coverage it went pretty big, I'd say. It got a lot of internet chatter. You know, there was lots of people blogging and discussing it, and it got some very good feedback. General feedback, I guess, was it was very kind of gloomy and dark and sinister, slightly depressing and very fucking weird. Don't know what that says about me, but I think that's kind of what we were aiming for. I mean, in terms of the theme, I think it matched what Tom was after. And it was just you know, I heard that music and that's what I saw, you know. I can't really explain it, but the feedback was good, it got good publicity, and it's, you know, it's worked pretty well for me in my career. It's a good, you know, it's very unusual, and it's totally unique, it's totally, you know, it's a one-off, and no, it was a pleasure working with Tom on that.
Cool. Well, the film's definitely been a bonus for the release of my instrumental album. Pleasure working with you. You got great insight, great vision. So, final question. How would you describe The Living Dead to someone that's never seen it before?
It's a film noir. It's very abstract, very surreal, very dark. So yeah, I'd just say it's a kind of a dark fairy tale about how kind of intrusion into your own personal space can affect some people, and it's a bit weird, but you should watch it because it's very good, at least I've been told. So I guess that's how I describe it.
Awesome, man. Thanks for your time and your hard work. I really appreciate it.
So that's the end of the interview. To finish, I thought it would be interesting for you, the audience, to see a different version of The Living Dead. You may well, hopefully you've seen the video and you enjoyed it, but I wanted to show a kind of another side of it. So what I've done, I've put together a new version, which is split screen, and on one side you have the final product, the final video, and on the other side you have the storyboards. Now I warn you, I can't draw to save my life, but it's just kind of there to show you how I visualized it before I actually went out there with my camera and filmed it. So that's the interview. So that's goodbye from me and from Tom DeLay Beats. I hope it's been an interesting insight into the making of the video, and here it is, the new kind of split screen. That's terrible. That is the end of the interview. Enjoy.